Welcome back to the Evolve podcast. I'm Rianon.
And I'm your better host, Brendon.
All right, we'll leave it at that. But for now, pretty much what this podcast is all about is self-development, health and fitness, and our journey starting as brand new business owners.
Let's go. Make sure that you share this around because I'm telling you right now, this is the best podcast you've ever seen.
Enjoy, guys. Ciao.
Are you ready for this one?
Nope.
You're not?
Of course I'm ready. I was born ready.
Were you?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm ready. Are you?
I'm very ready.
Good. All right.
Is
I'm ready.
Is it recording already?
Yeah.
And welcome, guys, to the Evolve podcast. This is Brendon and Rianon. This episode, I'm taking over and I am interrogating Rianon today. So I've got a question for you. This is from the audience themselves.
Okay.
We want to know.
Yep.
When you were a child and you fell out of the back of your dad's truck, do you remember that?
I chose to erase that memory. But yes, I do remember it.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So what was your earliest childhood memory?
Me falling off the back of the truck.
Was that day one?
That was day one. It just, everything reset as soon as I hit the...
fully reset at that moment.
I don't remember anything before that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got
Interesting.
some fluff on your cheek. There you go, mate.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Where you been, mate?
Oh, actually, that brings me to my next question.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you feel like the fact that your beard doesn't connect, does that impact your job? And does it affect your ability to build rapport with clients?
Who the fuck is going to listen to this?
Oh, the audience is asking these questions. It's not me.
It's not you. No.
This was from AJ.
Were these the questions that you had primed?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was AJ.
AJ asked?
AJ asked that one, and Tasha asked the first two.
About my beard?
AJ asked about your beard, yeah. If it affects your job and building rapport with clients.
In some ways...
He's concerned about it.
Yeah, in some ways it does affect my confidence, knowing that it doesn't connect. Look, I sit there and I stroke my...
Your half beard?
Yeah, the 3 strands on my chin and the 3 strands above my lip.
Yep.
And I go, I feel really, really low on confidence.
Low test?
Low test. Just not a real human, you know? That it doesn't connect.
Do you feel like half man?
Half... Yeah, we'll go 1/3 of
1/3?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
See, I shaved.
You shaved your half beard?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's gone back to a half. What the fuck is this? We're seriously gonna post
Yes, we are. Okay, so
I wanted to
we
ask,
also want to know.
Oh, okay.
Daniel Collins wants to know actually.
Yeah.
Where's your Porsche GT3 RS?
What the fuck is this? Is this the actual podcast?
This is a podcast.
Why? How? When? What?
I asked the audience these questions. I want to know these answers from you. They want to know the answers. I'm sorry.
Okay, when am I getting my Porsche GT3 RS? That's a great question.
He actually asked, where is it?
Oh, where is it? There's a guy in Abu Dhabi that is currently renting it.
So you've already got one?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, me either. It's all new to me as well. So you're hearing it for the first time, and so am I.
So you're renting it out in Dubai right now? Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Have a sip of water.
Yeah, I might need to.
I
didn't know I was going to get interrogated
this is just the beginning. This is something me and Abby want to find out.
Okay.
What are Mustangs?
Oh my God. You're throwing... a Mustang class? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's
a Mustang class. You know what? I have no idea why it was called Mustangs, but for some reason in the group training culture, when you associated something that a kid would like...
I don't like group training, by the way. Anyways, go on.
When you associate something that is of kid form, we'll call it, to an actual group session, there's a lot more of an enticing feel about it. So it doesn't feel like you're going there to get absolutely smashed doing weights and stuff. Mustangs was like your body weight and weight group training session. So everyone that referred to Mustangs class, it was like, oh, are you going to the Mustang session? And everyone knew automatically that it was...
people used to drive Mustangs when they got there?
Yeah, they did. There was one person that did.
Wow.
Yep. And
I'm driving to the Mustangs class with my Mustang.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine saying that to your wife when you leave the house. I'm hopping in the Mustang to go to Mustangs.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So interesting place then.
Interesting questions as well. Yes.
Yeah. So she also wants to know if you could go back in time to when you were a fresh PT, fresh group trainer doing these Mustangs classes. What advice would you give yourself?
Far out. You're pulling some freaking doozy questions. What advice would I give myself on how to run a Mustang class?
No, just in general as a new up and coming PT. If you saw yourself, you now saw yourself back then, what advice would you give yourself?
Okay, the advice that I would give myself would be to believe in myself. Believe in the fact that the group sessions that you're running are good group sessions. Don't second guess things that you created. I used to sit there a whole hour before a class and write up my programs, never actually being confident in the fact that I wrote this up and it was going to go smoothly. So I always had that hesitation of like what my work is not good enough ever. So every time I went to the classes, I'd go there an hour early. But now, if I was to give myself some feedback, it would probably be to know your worth. If I knew my worth back then, moving into where I am today would be a lot more of a different approach to personal training, to group training, to my confidence. But then it all comes back to the beard. So I didn't really have one back then. That was probably low confidence.
Do you feel like you've built confidence as you've started developing this half beard?
Yeah, one hair at a time.
How would you describe it?
My beard?
They can see it if they're watching it on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. I'll describe it for you that are listening. If you're listening up until this point, I congratulate you. But anyway, okay. My beard is not a beard. It's a goatee and a mustache with a little bit of a chin coverage.
Like a chin strap.
Yeah, fluffy on the top lip, just curls over the lip. But when I straighten it, it's all good. Then you got the little triangle goatee underneath the bottom lip. And then just in line with the outside of my mustache is where my beard ends, my chin beard.
Your chin strap.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can call it a chin strap.
Well, Sophie wants to know.
Okay.
Who was your favourite podcast guest and why?
Oh, I'm gonna throw that back at you as well. But
no, you can't do that. This is your interrogation.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
What are we gonna put as the thumbnail? Rianon gets interrogated. Breaking news. Okay. My favorite podcast today. You know what? They've all been pretty good. I don't have like a favorite, but every single person that I spoke to, I took something away from the session.
So you don't have a favorite?
Daniel Collins was probably my favorite in relation to me being able to learn a little bit about his story and where I was at that time in my life, and to see the leaps and bounds that I've made from that podcast has been crazy, because he was in our position at one point in his life, but he had to learn over time. That came down to reading the right books, came down to doing the right things, came down to the confidence level that he had to back himself with. I learned a lot about myself as well as you probably did as well. You learned a little bit about your methods, what you're doing. Is it wrong? Is it right?
We talked about Daniel's podcast a lot.
We do.
Before, during, after. So.
Yeah. It was a very good podcast. That was probably one of my favorites. And then...
It's the most viewed podcast as well.
It's one
I guess
of them.
We can drop that.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Make sure you go watch it after this episode if you've stayed this long. Next interrogation question. Go.
When are you going to hit your peak?
Oh, peak of what?
That was a question.
Oh, okay.
So I can't comment on these questions as the questions I've been given. This is by Julian.
Okay. When am I going to hit my peak? I feel like I'm getting there. It's not something I work towards.
Hitting your peak?
hitting my peak. I feel like
And what does peak mean?
Look, I'm glad you asked that question, Brendon, because peak can mean different things.
Like when you peak at school?
There's that. Or you think about a stock chart, for instance. There's many peaks in a stock chart. So what is your definition of peak? What is my definition of peak? My definition of peak is consistently rising throughout the rest of your life. Finding that peak, there's always going to be drops, there's always going to be lows and highs, but the peaks are where you live in the present, you understand that it's a good peak, and not to think that it's always going to come. If you always think that a peak is going to come, then you're not really working towards what is happening right now.
Yeah.
What's your definition of peak?
Peak. I would say my definition of peak is the point that you believe after this point I'm going down and never coming back up here again.
Okay. What do you go into a little bit more?
For example, C-Bum's last bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
That would be his peak.
Okay.
Because he's retired after that. He's not going to be able to go and compete at the highest level again. So to him, that's his peak. Or Ronaldo's last
football
game
match
for Real Madrid, that was his peak in a way. Because from there, he's gone to United, and we're not going to comment on that football career, but you'd say Real Madrid was his peak.
Yep.
From there, he's gone down, and he's not going to be able to go back to Real Madrid. You know what I mean?
I understand. I get it. But is that an objective peak, like of what you think? Oh, sorry, subjective peak? Because to him, he might be super, super happy, and he might still be rising to the peak.
Yeah, but that's a peak in their athletic careers.
Okay,
you'd say.
So you're referring it to athletic careers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you have like, I don't know what Julian was referring to when he said peak.
Yeah.
But when you hear that, do you have like a peak? Do you feel like there is a peak that you're striving to hit or achieve or anything like that?
The peak will be when I start a family. That's my peak. That's what I'm working towards. That'll be like the holy grail of my peak.
That is so wog.
It is. It is.
All right. So next question. Who's your favorite PT at Dynamic Recon?
Oh, the heavy hitters are coming now.
Like, that was Billy's question.
Oh, that was Billy's question.
Yeah.
Billy, mate. That's a tough, doozy question. It's you, Billy. It's you. You're my favorite trainer, Brendon. You're my favorite trainer.
Oh, well, I am a trainer.
Yeah, I know. You're my favorite trainer. I've learned a lot from you over the 2 years that we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Don't know how we're still able to sit down and talk on a podcast, but here we are.
You know when you're like, as males, whatever, when you get rejected by girls, I've never been rejected as much as I have as when I message or call Billy.
Oh, Billy, if you're watching this. Oh, you know what? It's actually good to do podcasts like this because it breaks the norm of sitting there and talking to someone and asking questions and finding out about their life. Now I
still feel the exact same as I do in every podcast.
Oh, okay.
Asking you questions.
Very true. Very true. But this is like a different, like you're not going to sit here with someone and ask them that Billy asked this question to him. I don't think that's going to...
Well, we're getting our guests and our audience to get involved in the podcast now. It's a new leaf, you know.
I like it.
Episode 30 of the new season. So we can only get better from here. What would you say is the most important lesson that you've learnt in business? This was also from Billy.
Billy as well. From business, I think this is something that we both can relate to, is how many mistakes you can make. And the more you make, the more you learn.
I like that one.
The more mistakes you make, the more you learn. The more discipline gets impaled in your life, like literally impaled in your life. We sit here and we talk to people, and this is essentially a business as well. The conversations that we have are so important because we get to learn something. We get to learn about our mistakes, things that we've done right, wrong, and there's just that constant personal development as well. So I think the biggest thing in business that I've taken away has been organization, communication skills, confidence. What did I say before? The
structure,
the mistakes, are always there to be made, and you can't avoid mistakes. You can't avoid failing. It's always there. It's in your face. If you're running a business or if you're starting something, it's always going to be in your face.
100%.
You just got to learn how to swerve around it or jump over it.
I like that.
Go under it.
Go under it. My favorite is
go through it. That's the one. I was waiting for it. I was trying to segue you to it, and you're like, "Oh, yep, bang.
Just go through it, mate." I feel like over time I've realized that we're essentially mistake finders. Business owners are essentially mistake finders. Me personally, anyway, I feel like I'm actually searching for mistakes because then I know what to fix. 100%. If I don't know where the mistakes are, I don't know what band-aid to put on.
Yeah, it's
because I feel like as a business owner, I'm just walking around with a first aid kit. And I'm like, all right, where's the next problem?
Yeah, that's true. I think another big thing is that the way it's placed out, if you place it out very systematically, organized, then you can just backtrack to where the problem is. You know what I mean? Like that structure that we talked about when, for instance, let's say our sales process. If there's a miscommunication with a client, we can backtrack where, because it's tracked. There's a problem, fix it. Fixed it, now moving forward, there won't be that problem again.
Yeah.
And just continuously repeating that cycle as much as possible to learn that you made a mistake. You stuffed up.
Now fix it.
Now fix it.
Or pay the price of the problem down the track.
That's it. That's a good one. Yeah. I like it. Yeah.
There we go. So you're answering these questions well.
You're
getting interrogated, but
I know.
Coping with it well.
I think just because we spend 24 hours a day together, so
you know how to handle.
I know how to handle the
Brendon.
The Brendon, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got another question for you.
Oh, okay.
So, as a small business owner yourself, right? For someone that's starting their business or have a small business that's going through a period, and we've just gone through this ourselves anyway, so going through a period where it's a bit slower than normal, like they're maybe not getting the same traction they were before, their business isn't too established, they've only been operating for, less than 5 years or so, what advice would you give to that person?
I think the best way to describe that roller coaster ride is that it is one. Like starting any business is not easy. And I think a lot of people, i.e. ourselves, when starting this whole journey, were like, oh, we can do it. It's so easy. It's just a walk in the park. But no, you got to learn deeper. You got to learn so much more. You got to make those mistakes. That in business, when you make those dips, and this is obviously just through what I've experienced, not to say like this is what everyone should be doing, but in what I've experienced and what you've experienced is that those dips give you the opportunity to restructure and reevaluate what's actually going on. Okay, what's the problem? Why are we at this bottom? Okay, here's one reason, here's X reason, Y reason, Z reason. And then from those questions that you're asking yourself, okay, how can we fix them now? Or how can we improve? Or how can we create a brand? How can we create relationships with our clients? And etc. That's one of the biggest takeaways that I've taken away from those dips. And you can probably attest to this, that those low periods are fucking low.
They're very low.
They're very low. And it causes other people to butt heads with the missus, you butt heads with your family, you're in a rut, you can't sleep. Your head's just going a million miles an hour on ways to fix the problem.
Can't sleep.
All it takes is for you to go and have a gym session, train, feel good, focus on yourself. And when you do focus on yourself in those lower periods, you find out what the real reason why is.
You actually send me to the gym sometimes.
I know. I'm like, go piss off. Off you go.
Get to the gym, mate.
Mate, if you don't have
I'll see you in an hour.
If you don't have your gym session, like I'm noticing it now, like these lower periods, I'm itching to go to the gym because inevitably, if everything's going to shit, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And if friends are interested, share it around. Intermission. I remember where we were talking about. We were talking about those low moments.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The highs and lows of business.
The highs and lows of business. I think, if you don't focus on yourself as a number one priority, in those low periods, you'll have nothing to do. You'll have nothing to work towards, nothing to develop. You know, just like you want to continually improve the business, continually grow the business, continually focus on bringing in clients, generating clients. Imagine doing that for yourself. Now let's flip the script. Generating clients, generating health for yourself.
Can you generate health? No, I know what you mean. Sleep, training.
You focus on those little, like, I got a Whoop. I saw you had one. I was like, fuck it, I'll get one.
Environment.
100%. We're both wearing the same hats. We're both wearing the same shirts. Mine don't have a green cover, but we're wearing black. But we sit here, and the little increments that this records is the same increments that are within a business. You track the sleep, you track the sales, you track your recovery, you track your finances. It's the same concept. So in those low periods, track yourself, see how you can improve, and focus on yourself like a business. Because then in return, what's the return?
You're going to be showing up better the next day, and for your business, for your partners, for your family, whatever it might be.
You're generating happiness in your life. You're generating health.
You're generating life.
You're generating life. You're generating health, well-being, fortitude, longevity.
So what drives you every day?
You.
I didn't expect that answer.
I know. I threw a curveball at you. You were expecting a curveball answer. I gave you a curveball answer. Nah,
that was from Matt.
That was from Matt. That was a Matt question. Okay. Well, to answer your question, Matt, what drives me every day is having an environment like we've created to the point where it becomes second nature to just rock up. It just feels natural. You both have the same headspace. If you work with someone that understands you, and you work with someone that understands that people have to change and develop into better versions of not only themselves for themselves, but for the business that you're creating, that's the most important thing to take away, I believe.
I like that.
Yeah. So I'll throw the question back at you. What would your response be to that question? By Matt?
No, Matt asked me to ask you.
Okay. Well,
but if I was to answer it,
I
would say what drives me every day. Yeah, knowing that I'm doing it with someone that also has the same goals and same trajectory makes it 10 times easier.
100%.
I definitely feel like I wouldn't be at the stage I am now if I didn't have someone like you next to me.
Yeah, bah. Yeah, lad. Let's go.
That's cute. Now, what does success for Dynamic Recov look like for you?
I think this restructure period that we've just begun going through has been one of the biggest turning points mentally for both of us. We've drawn a big line in the sand. We've divvied up our roles in the business. I think what success looks like now that we've both divvied up is just a lot more understanding how to grow. That's the biggest thing for success, is like understanding that growth takes time. But doing the right things and working to your strengths is what is going to grow success for not only you, but the person you're involved with. Or if it's for yourself, that individual growth is going to make you more successful.
100%. I like that.
Yeah. That was your
answer?
Yeah, that was
from Adrian.
Oh, okay.
So Adrian wants to know what your successful Dynamic Recov looks like.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. I appreciate that question. That was good. All right, who do we have next?
Oh, I've got this other one. So this
I can't wait to interrogate you. This is gonna be the best thing ever.
So this guest and this past podcast guest wants to know and believes that you've traveled a lot in your life, right? He also knows that you've been to many places in your lifetime as well.
Yes.
And wants to know what is your biggest takeaway from all the travel that you've done, and what is the favorite place that you've been to in that time?
I think Andrew. So I think the one thing that I took away from travel was that it's very easy to forget to live in the moment. You know, I think that's a very deep way to think about it, to be honest.
I think you lived in the moment though. You lost your passport.
Yeah, I did. I found myself and I lost my passport, you know. I thought that would have been a pep question, but
oh, here's the one's coming up.
Oh, okay. But yeah, honestly, I lost my passport, but found myself. And I think coming back from a trip like that made me grow up. And that was another big takeaway. I got back and I had...
You interrogated me on that trip.
I did. We had probably one of the biggest conversations we've ever had in our lives.
Yeah.
Period. To this day. And somehow we're still sitting here talking. But I think the one thing that I learned is the power of no. The power of no is very, very strong. And I actually journaled about it. And the missus read my journal the other day. And she was reading all my old entries. And one of them was about the power of no. And the one thing that I wrote was that the power of no is really, really powerful. And to understand that you have this gravitational trajectory of your life by using 2 little letters, 1 word, is a superpower that not many people actually have. And to back yourself and follow through with your word and actually say no is no. Because sometimes those no's reap more reward for yourself than if you were to be a yes man.
100%, because then your yes becomes more strong. Because if you have the ability to say no and people actually respect you and see you as someone that always turns up, then when you do say yes to things, they're actually going to listen. But if you're constantly saying yes and never saying no and going in that type of frame of mind, people are never going to respect your yes. They're going to think that, oh, maybe.
In the very early stages, in the very early stages of us starting Dynamic, I was a very big yes man, but never following through with my yeses. And I think that was another big takeaway that I took after traveling, was that, okay, I understood the power of doing what I wanted to do on that trip and saying no to going out here or doing this or doing that, but still enjoying my time and living in the moment. But learning how important it is to follow through with your yes is just as important as learning what the value of no is.
I like that.
So that was the big thing that I took away from my travels. Obviously, I learned a lot about myself, as I have said on previous podcasts.
You found yourself.
I found myself. I learned about myself. I was a very lost kid back then. And this is like 2-3 years ago. So I call myself a kid, but like it was 2-3 years ago.
Does that mean you're still a kid?
Yeah, in my heart and in my mind, I'm a kid. I think I always will be. No, you're a kid for the rest of your life. I think you're stuck with that. But I think, what was the other question about travel and...
What was your favourite place?
My favourite place? Amsterdam.
Yeah.
London was probably number 1. Amsterdam and Croatia were like a close second. Italy's gorgeous. I just want to learn. I want to go...
See more of it
before I go. Just from the places that we went, I feel like my top 3 there are my top 3 because of the places that we went to. But
and
I feel
why?
like, okay, Amsterdam, because that's where I found myself.
Okay.
Croatia and, London, Croatia and Amsterdam, close second. London was just like, I don't know. It was very like cutesy vibe. Like I like the way that people dress and the attitude that they bring about their day, and it's very like Sydney, but like jam packed.
Yeah,
very like that. But then you can go like an hour drive to Liverpool. Not even on the train. You can do a couple hour drive to Liverpool, and you're in a whole completely different area. So that's number 1. That's why. Number 2, Amsterdam. Amsterdam was just like a really cool, chill vibe. It gave everyone a bit of time to like relax and sort of understand that they're just embarked on a big trip like this.
Yeah. And
then Croatia was just gorgeous.
It was very leafy, right? Amsterdam?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very leafy, greeny.
Yeah. Is that how you would describe it to people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a bulldog territory. The Bulldog Cafe was gone.
It was gone.
It was actually good. I loved it.
I loved how I could pick from a menu.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
This is awesome. And then Croatia was just gorgeous. Every single place we went to was just like so cool. That place that we found in the back of Kakula.
Oh,
That
what was that?
Yeah,
the grandma's
backyard.
Yeah.
That's what
It
we
was a
call
restaurant
it.
as well.
It was a full restaurant. We got 4 huge freaking platters, like this big. Quarter of it was chips, and the rest was meat.
Oh,
And
that was my
we
favorite feed the whole trip.
Smashed it.
I was there for 9 weeks. I was still my favorite trip.
Yeah,
My favorite feed. The whole time.
Well, that was like the first proper wog feed that we had been introduced to since we got there.
Yeah, I know.
Because everything else was Uber Eats or walking down to get a shawarma or going down to
No,
get...
we had good food in...
Well, we went
we
London,
didn't. We actually
Amsterdam, Croatia.
We tried in Italy, though. They had good food.
Oh, Italy's...
But it was like restaurants, though.
That was still good food. The paninis.
Oh, they were nice.
Yeah.
But it didn't hit the same as that Croatian dinner.
It
I don't know
didn't.
why.
No. That was like a
Do you
family
reckon
meal.
maybe it's because of the fact that we got 10 rakias after it?
Oh,
So then it kind of threw off the fact that it was good food.
yes and
Maybe
no.
it wasn't that good. We were just so drunk on the rakia after.
But that was after.
True.
Before it,
Yes.
we were smashing it.
Very true.
And there was 8 hungry boys there.
They fed an army.
They fed an army, bro. And they were so hospitable. It was they're my top 3 favorite places. Yeah.
I like it. Do you find it difficult to separate business and your personal life?
I used to.
That was from Carly.
That was from Carly. I used to. Distinguishing that disconnect from one and the other is very, very hard to understand when you're in the growth stage of a business. That's very powerful to learn how to distinguish what time you spend on yourself and your family and your girlfriend, and then what time to put aside for your business. I feel like with the business, you've got to learn that it is your baby. So you're going to have to put that as a number 1 priority and then learn how to manage the rest in the early stages. Not to say it's going to be like that forever. But
Well,
if
I hope not.
Well, yeah.
You hope it turns into a toddler and then eventually a kid and it starts walking on its own, but, you know.
I think that's one of the big takeaways that I've kind of come to learn is that starting a business is like having a baby.
Mm.
And
Well, you've never had a baby before, so how do you know?
I've had people around my circle that have had babies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have.
All family members, obviously.
Exactly. You spastic. Oh, God. I think, learning that business is all about growing with the baby.
Mm.
Sorry, you threw me off. You threw me so off. I didn't expect you. Who? When?
She also wants to know, how do you manage having your business partner also be your best mate?
That's a tough question. How do I deal with...
Oh, that was actually asked twice.
Yeah?
So by Vinny as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me put it this way. The only way that you can describe working with your best friend is that there's always going to be one person in that duo that gets the other to talk.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you both have egos to the point where I'll be a tough guy and just let it all stay inside, and you got the other guy going, tell me exactly what you're going through and what's running through your head, that is...
Well, now
that is
literally
literally...
the video viewers will know who's who.
Yeah. No, I understand. But for who isn't watching the video, the first person was Brendon, the second person was me. But I think the questions that I've learned to ask you has really stepped our level of a relationship to more of a brother relationship. Like we're gonna butt heads. I'm gonna hate you some days. I'm gonna love you some days.
Just like your brothers.
But most of the time, I want to kick you in the nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's a normal brother relationship.
It's a
it's a great feeling. And there's that opportunity to just go bang.
We do it on the soccer pitch.
Exactly.
But then it's legal there, so that's all right.
Exactly. Until the card comes out.
Yeah, but we haven't had that yet.
True. Yeah. But I don't know. I never expected to find someone like you to start a business with. I don't think it was the first thing in my mind to find a business partner like you.
I didn't know that, to be honest.
And it just kind of
I
happened.
didn't think I'd ever run a business with someone.
No. I never thought that either. But I realized it very early on that you need the other person just as the other person needs you.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason we started this podcast was, well, the whole color theme, black and white, was to represent yin and yang, balance.
Yeah.
And that's what we promote in Dynamic Recov, is focusing on balance, balanced lifestyles, balanced habits, focusing on balancing your career, your life, your headspace. That's what I took away from working with someone like you, was that there was that opportunity to focus on balance. You were the fire, I was the water.
Oh, so you used to just put me out.
Yeah. Yeah. You turned into an inferno sometimes, and you just needed that little drop of water just to be like, okay, all right, I can settle back down.
But you need both.
You need the balance. Without fire, you can't backburn. But without water, you can't kill the backburn.
Yes. Otherwise, we'll just keep on spreading, right?
That's right.
I like it. Do you feel like you could be doing better in your current situation?
Of course. Do you?
That was from Dukes.
Thanks, Luke's.
No, Dukes.
Oh, Dukes. Oh, thanks, Dukes.
Or Muckelswag.
Oh, yep. Do I feel like I could be better in my current situation?
Yeah.
I think if you don't think that, then you're never going to improve.
Okay. That's a good answer.
Yeah. What about you? Do you think you could be better in your current situation?
No, I'm the best.
Yep.
Yeah. I've hit my peak. Okay, yeah, you know what? I feel like I can improve.
Okay, perfect. That's the... Water and fire, guys.
No, honestly, I feel like if you're not learning, then you've capped yourself at that set point.
Yeah.
And there will be no chance that you're going to elevate past that moment if you don't think that you're able to learn something better or learn something new. Because repeating the same things without learning is not going to get you anywhere.
Repeating the same things without learning isn't going to get you there. I like that.
Because we make mistakes, right? But we learn from those mistakes to make sure it doesn't happen again. We don't make mistakes and think, she'll be right. We'll just keep on making more mistakes. But if we don't learn from those mistakes and make changes to make sure it doesn't happen again, that is how we're learning. That's how the business is improving. But that's just the business side. We're also doing that in training. Yeah. We're also doing that in our personal relationships. I'm talking more, you know. I never talk. And this guy's making me talk and sit me down on a chair and he's like, Brendon, tell me how you're feeling. I'm like, oh, fuck, this again.
I've got to pour my heart and soul out to this guy again. Far out. I think another big thing has been feedback. There was one thing that we did back in the day when Jono was working with us, and it was at a point where we were all butting heads and we were all angry. And Jono,
I love that. That was your idea, though.
No, it was Jono's.
Oh, was it?
Sit down and write down 5 things you hate about the person and 5 things you love about the person. And
that was fun, man.
It was hilarious. But that was the level of communication that we needed in the business, because if there was no transparency between us three, there just would have been more and more fights.
And there were a lot of fights.
And then Jono left, and then it was you and me. When it became you and me, there was a lot more fights because there wasn't that mediator in the middle to be like, all right, write down 5 things you hate, write down 5 things you love. Read a passage of the book today, don't read a passage of the book today. Focus on this, don't do that. Whereas now, being on our own a little bit more and expanding our knowledge well up
As
until
much
this
as we
point.
can.
We've learned a lot in the aspect of what's next. What can we do to improve ourselves next? And that's just being communication.
And you're big on communication.
Yes. Yes.
I rate that.
I used to lie a lot as a kid. That was one of my big downfalls. That was my low periods.
I think that was one of the things I wrote that I hate about you as well.
That I lie.
Yeah.
It was a bad thing of mine. I admit it. And I've just come to terms with the fact that it's now doesn't benefit my life. Doesn't benefit anyone's life. Lying. Like, what do you get out of it?
Exactly.
You get a little bit of like a fire blanket on you for a little bit, but then it disintegrates.
Because a lie eventually comes out.
Exactly. So it always
or me
comes out.
holding things in.
Yes.
Eventually that comes out.
Exactly.
And when it comes out, it's not nice. It's not good. It comes out in a big...
There's two ways that we deal with things. You deal with things in the way of I'll bottle it up and not talk about it. And
I deal with it on my own.
Yeah.
Sort of
and I deal with it in the way of lying and protecting myself.
Yeah.
But now we've learned, okay, I've got to ask more questions and you've got to be more open.
Yeah.
And that's what's helped.
Like start opening the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reading that first page of the book.
Yes.
It's always the hardest page to read.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
Well, once you pass that hurdle, you're fine.
Yeah. You can read the back of it. You can read the front of it. They're easy.
Just open the first page.
But opening that first page is super hard.
That's actually a good point. So when did you know that you wanted to go all in with entrepreneurship? That's a Vinny question again.
I knew that I wanted to go all in only last year when we both took on the role of business owners. And I never believed in myself enough to be like, okay, I'm a business owner. It was always like I'm working with my mates on something. But then there was that big level up that was like, okay, all right.
So this was when Jono was there, you still felt like it was just working with your mates sort of thing?
I didn't feel as important. I felt like you guys were very smart and you guys were levels above me. So I just doubted myself every day. So going into each day, coming here and working in the office, it was not enjoyable for me because I just believed I was stupid. I was dumb. And I just reaffirmed that every time because I would cover everything up with a lie. So I just continually reaffirmed.
Which is to make us even more angry.
Exactly.
And more fights.
Exactly. So that was the pivotal moment for me was last year when we took on a bit more of a higher role of running two things at once, diving into the deep end with things, committing to things.
Chucking in a podcast.
Chucking in a whole new system behind our back end stuff, focusing on growing our trainer base to what we have now is 15. That was like a realization moment, like, okay, this
shit's getting real.
You either sink with the boat or you take the life jacket. You either sink or swim. So that was the pivotal moment for me. It was probably last year. What about you? Like, entrepreneurship is always something that you said that you've wanted to do and always thought about doing. What made you take that step? Was it to have someone that had the same energy as you in a business?
I guess that's what I needed. So when I found you at that moment in your garage and we started talking about business names and dynamic recurve came out, it was actually in that first session when I was lying down and we thought of drop shipping. It was in that moment that I realized how excited I was and how much I knew that this was going to be my life moving forward. I didn't know how. I didn't think I would be in a business with you or running a business with my two best mates or anything like that. I didn't think that would ever happen. I'm glad it did. And I'm glad it's still happening. But it was that moment that I knew that's what I wanted to do, like start a business and do something in the health and fitness space in some way. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that we have the opportunity to reflect like this and watch it back. Like for people that don't know, we recorded when we first got this
30th
equipment,
birthday.
yeah, when we first got this equipment, we decided, okay, let's make a video for ourselves for our 30th birthday. And then every 10 years after that, we make one and we watch it back only on that day.
Yeah.
And the opportunity that we've given ourselves to be able to sit here, be vulnerable, talk to people, ask questions, watch ourselves back has been such a different way of improving and seeing those improvements. So from that 6-month mark, from us, you know, from me, for instance, not being confident in myself to where I am now, and, you know, you just taking everything by the balls and running straight into the brick wall, I feel like there's been an understanding of we're both in this together, and it's not who can run the furthest, the quickest. It's who can help. Like, if you can both help each other get over the finish line, then that's a lot more rewarding than being first.
Being in a race.
Or driving a car to an unknown destination.
Like you explained this the other day, the whole thing of me just running off and then needing a question from you and be like, hey, Ray, what's this?
Yep.
And just running off again. How would you explain that to
the audience?
That don't know?
I think
because that's our business in a nutshell.
It is. I think there's always going to be that person, if you are working in a partnership, that is just an absolute go-getter. Any opportunity that they get to be 10 steps ahead, they're going to take. But then those 10 steps that they take forward may not be the right path. So those steps have to be retraced. And the person that's going on the same path, but just a more directed approach and a lot more of a paced approach.
A more structured approach.
I wouldn't say more structured. I'd say a lot more...
with more thought involved in it.
Yeah, like a little bit more anticipation for what's coming around the corner. More preparation and anticipation. I think not knowing what's around the corner doesn't scare you.
Yeah.
So you're like, fuck it, I'll take this corner. I'll go straight into the road's blocked. So you got to come back out of the road and then I'll be at the same point you are.
But you've already seen that roadblock.
But so you've already checked it on Google Maps. I've checked it on Google Maps. It's already closed. It's a blocked off road. I already know. But you're like, nah, fuck it. So I think in relation to us being partners, and if anyone relates to having a partner in a business, is that there's always going to be that person that just goes hell for leather. But there has to be that balance. So someone has to be like, hey, all right, I love this idea. How can we get there? It's not just like, it's not like this idea is going to make us millions of dollars. Okay, that's cool. It's like how we are with PT. This is where you are right now. This is where you want to be. That's completely cool. But how are we going to make the steps? What are the steps
to make it easier for you to get there?
To make it easier, to make it more enjoyable, make it more feasible. You focus on a lot more time efficient ways to get there. You enjoy the process.
Visually see the process as well.
The process is the most important part. Is that when you're able to visualize it, right, 1 to 10 ways to get there, then those 1 to 10 ways may break off into 5. And then you've got a lot more direction and you can funnel it a little bit more differently. But that's,
I like it.
Yeah.
And to top this episode off, I want to ask one more question.
Yep. Is this from you or?
No, this is from Biddy.
Okay.
What's the most important lesson that you've learnt in business?
You already asked that question.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Wait a second. Okay, this one question. If you could start a charity, what would it be? From Tasha.
If I could start a charity, there's a lot in this day and age that big influencers are doing. One of them is Mr. Beast and Mark Rober. They're currently cleaning up the world one day at a time. All their proceeds go to cleaning up the world and all the pollution that goes out into the world. There's other people that donate to disability funds. There's a lot of people that do it wrong and they do it for the wrong reasons. And I feel like if I was to create one, it'd be just for the full sole purpose of putting a roof over someone's head, building homes. I feel like that would be something that I would create, because like we take it for granted. We're able to go home, jump in bed, and have a roof over our heads because our family have worked tirelessly. But there's people that just
don't have that
and haven't been able to have that opportunity of a bed or a roof over their head. One of my clients actually does that. Madeline. Really? Yeah. Okay. Madeline does that. So she does conservation. Nice. Yeah, conservation for people overseas in Africa. And that really shocked me, like hearing the stories. I'm like, shit. This happens. You see it. You see like, donate now, pay us now. Like, we need money now. There's some corporations that do it correctly. There's some that don't. But that would probably be my charity.
I like that.
What about you?
Oh,
yeah. Shit. You didn't think that would come back to you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't. I do like the charity because there's heaps of foundations out there for building homes for the homeless.
Yeah,
I do really like that. But I gotta say,
have you ever even thought of it?
I've never thought of it.
Apart from asking me that question,
no. Now I feel like something I would think of what my charity would go to is probably water.
Water?
Yeah.
Okay. In what way?
African kids that don't have water.
Okay. That's different. I didn't expect that from you.
Low access.
Yeah. Actually, Mr. Beast does that as well. He what does he do? He goes to African countries and puts in wells in the ground. Yeah. So if
they still use wells in my hometown in Portugal.
Hometown. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Far out. Where do you think the world's gonna be in like 10 years from now?
Ooh, that's a weird question. That one.
Yeah.
Bit of a doozy.
It is. I'm we're talking about charities and stuff like that. Like, how
are we going to make charities have to do?
How are we going to make the world a better place moving forward? And then
is that a goal of yours?
Well, how are we going to make the place a better world? The world a better place?
Better health and fitness outcomes.
That'll save the country.
Well, obesity is such a big issue. If we can try and reduce a little bit of obesity, might go a long way.
That's what I mean. Like,
I guess that's one of the biggest impacts that we, in our business or in our line of work, can do in that way. That's the biggest impact our business can make.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a charity we go towards.
Stopping obesity.
The Stopping Obesity charity.
I don't know if it would be like a stopping obesity charity. It'd be more like
stopping Maccas. Shutting down
Maccas one at a time. I don't know how you would go about that. Like, it wouldn't be curing obesity because it's not.
There's no cure.
There's no cure, but like, okay, that's actually a good idea. It's something like providing health and fitness within war-drawn countries, or
countries that don't have access to the healthcare or the knowledge as well.
That'd be a good charity to start.
Well, that's actually smart. I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I asked the question, where do you see the world in the next 10 years? Because
I wouldn't have thought of that if you didn't ask that question.
I know.
Would you describe yourself
as
a big city boy or a small town boy?
I never viewed myself as a big city. What do you mean by big city boy, though? Like, big city boy as in like...
Would you label yourself as someone that's part of the big city or small town? In terms of your vibe and your energy.
I'd refer to myself as small town.
Small town?
Not really big city. I feel like you have to be really, really loud when you're a big city boy.
Yeah, you do, eh? That was from Carly.
I like my own time. I like being on my own with my family and with my friends.
In Amsterdam? At the Bulldog Cafe.
If anyone has watched the episode up until this point, I give you full credit because this has been a doozy for me. I was like expecting I had questions to ask you as well.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. But I had a bit of a roadmap to where we were leading. But you know what? That's what life's about, is curveballs. And if you want
and I'm
more,
a massive curveball.
yeah, and if
our
you want,
accountant reckons I'm a curveball too. He calls me curveball.
well, that's what he's changed it to in his on his
system,
phone.
Yeah.
Curveball de Silva.
A curveball calling. I actually want to see his phone one day, and it says curveball is calling.
If you could end it with one thing, what would you tell your past self?
I like that question by Abby, actually.
Yeah, by Abby. What would you tell your past self, and what lessons would you give your past self from the beginning of entrepreneurship to now?
Oh, as in that moment in your garage. If I was to talk to that person in the garage, I feel like if I met that kid that was in the garage, that was just full of excitement, thinking that it was going to be perfect, thinking it was going to be an amazing thing, giving that person or giving that younger self a reality check, telling him it's still going to be mad, but you got to make sure that you understand that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and there's going to be periods where it's shit. But you telling him that you're going to love it that much that no matter how shit it is, you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. the next day and keep on going. You're a weird cunt for doing that.
Up top.
But you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. full of energy somehow after 5 hours sleep, knowing, hey, I'm going to make another 50 sales calls and get rejected every time.
Yeah.
But you're going to go to sleep and do the same thing again, you know? And I feel like that's something that you can never teach someone. That's something that I honestly feel like you're born with in some way. And that's something we discussed in Pep's podcast. I don't have his question up actually, but that was something we discussed in Pep's podcast that, you know,
sometimes you're born with it, sometimes you're not.
Sometimes you're born with it. And it's made me realize over time that maybe I was born with it, born with this desire or passion to do this, because I can't see myself doing anything else. That's the thing.
I was quite like that in the beginning. I was the opposite of you though. I was like, I know I want to do something. I think it starts with a thought. It always starts with a thought. Like, you know, when you first have that thought of like, okay, I'm going to run a business one day.
Like in the Porsche GT3 RS, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Working towards something that you never thought. I don't know. It's weird to explain. Like, I'll give you an example. So when we started this business, I was full like, nah, too terrifying. But I knew I wanted to run a business of my own one day. And obviously became a personal trainer and I was running my own business, but I wasn't running a business. So making that step to where we are now, I've grown into that thought process of this is something that I'm going to be doing every day. I believe that, yes, some people are born with it, but then I also believe that you can work towards it as well. You can work towards that thought process because, you know, you woke up one day and you were like, all right, this is for me. But I woke up one day saying, I don't know if it's for me. And then the next day I woke up saying, okay, this is maybe for me. And then I woke up the next week and I was like, this is for me.
Yeah.
So for some
there
people,
was more of a gradual build up for you.
Yeah. For some people it's a process. For some people it's just instinctual for them to go, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. For me, it was like, you know how deers come out of the womb being able to run?
I think you can make a better acronym, but yes.
Or let me think.
It's like when you put
like
bread.
A fish, when a fish comes like when a fish is born, it's able to swim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you came out, you're like, business. Business. I'm going to run a business one day.
No.
I have it in me, I know. I'm born with it.
No. Because I didn't think I was going to do that until I was in your garage. That's the thing. That was a pivotal moment for me. I was already running a business, if you think about it, as a PT, because you essentially do. And, you know, all the PTs that work with us essentially are running their own business, you know, and that was me back then. So I was already kind of doing that, but without all of this extra shit that we do now.
I
For
think
some people, it's inside them. Some people, you have to work a bit to get it out. But at the end of the day, what I feel like is a defining factor is if you're able to go through periods of highs, you're able to go through periods of lows, and still wake up the next day not knowing what's going to happen, but ready to face it.
Yeah, ready to face it and ready to learn more.
Yeah.
Because if you're not ready to face it, you don't want to learn anything.
Exactly.
So you got to be ready, even if you know you're not. So like me taking on the marketing role now, I just had to cop it and deal with it and do it. And now I'm doing it.
You're the marketing man.
I'm the marketing man.
So if you don't like our socials, guys,
it's my fault. But I think that it's good to do some videos like this, some episodes like this, to reflect and go back. I think we spoke about it with Gio about how accountants look backwards and financial advisors look forwards. Yep. I feel like that and one thing that he does that I liked was the fact that he has like a reflection day at the end of each month where he looks back on his month and he realizes, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? How can I get better? How can I do this? How can I do that? And it's always like, okay.
You're big on that stuff.
Yeah, to some extent, looking back and learning about the past. I think taking away lessons from your past is so crucial to the development of who you want to be and who you want to be for someone and for your family and for your goals and for your peak that you mentioned before.
Oh, Julian's peak,
my peak, your peak. There's always going to be
a new peak that you're striving
towards. I don't think there's a actual peak. There's always going to be something new. So, there's Mount Everest, but there's all these little mountains that you can climb before you get to Mount Everest.
And they're like individual peaks that you're striving towards. So you feel like you're always hitting peaks.
There's not just one mountain in the world. There's many.
Wow. I like that one. That's a good way to end it.
Look around it there. Good shit.
Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of the Evolve podcast.
Brendon and I have loved having you throughout this whole podcast. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And if friends are interested, share it around.
Yeah, make sure you share and tag us on your Instagram posts. And I'll see you soon.
See you guys. Little boogie to finish.